What's up, guys? So I made a video the other day about how women subconsciously inherently think that they are better than men, and I wanted to sort of continue to talk on that a little bit and sort of elaborate on some concepts behind that. I think it's really bad, and I think it's deeper than we realize. And it affects everything. It affects their perceptions, it affects their behavior, it affects their attitude, it affects the way they think about us, it affects the way they treat us, right? And I see this so much more and more as time goes on, um, because it's really a cult. It's becoming a cultural thing even. Um, and it's to the point where like you could talk to them and every bit of the way that they interact with you is affected by that. And unfortunately, it's weird, but it sort of exposes a lot of it exposes a lot of the way that they think and behave, or exposes a lot of the way that they are naturally. You know, men are tend to be more objective, right? Women are more subjective, and there's a big difference there. There really is. So if you base things off of your feelings, you got a problem. If you base things off of your feelings and your emotions and not in rationality and logic and reason, you got a problem. Um, Many people take that and use it as a larger example and reason why women shouldn't be in positions of power. I wouldn't fully disagree with that. I think that it, it's it's hard for a woman not to be objective, and sometimes it's hard for men as well. That's true. It can be a human thing, but I think it's much more for women. So it's very insidious and it's very dangerous. But again, to just reiterate what I'm talking about, because of modern feminism and because women have these concepts about men, particularly pertaining to our worth, pertaining to our motives, pertaining to what we want from them and things like that, it does it just warps their viewpoint of us, and so they really think that they're superior to us because they assume this self appointed virtue, right? Which really is not pretty nonsensical, right? It's really pretty silly because there's really not a lot of basis for it. You've got sayings like, "Oh, women are the fairer sex," things like that, but you know, it discounts who men are, what we've done, things like that. And to uplift one gender above the other, there's really no other way to put it, but it's bigotry, right? It's sexism. It's similar to the concept of what's it called? I think it's called affirmative action or whatever. When they give women and minorities jobs over white men, it's this assumed victimship, right? It's this assumed superiority based on them being victims, right? Oh, you're a white man, therefore you're automatically an oppressor. You're a male, therefore you're automatically, this, that, and the third things that we've conceived about you, and this is just the way that it is. And they have this stubborn faith in it, right? This kind of stubborn belief that you're just this way because of your gender, which that's just bigotry, right? It's sexism to say that this person deserves a job over this other person based on their gender. Well, we have to make sure things are, you know, equality of outcome, right? We have to make sure things are we have to ensure equity in the world. So we're going to hire this person over you based on their gender or based on their ethnicity. That's just sexism. That's just straight up bigotry. It's not based on merit, right? We should live in a meritocracy, right? I'm not saying we don't live in a meritocracy. It's seen in some places, but We should live in a meritocracy. Idealistically, a meritocracy is the way to go. You earn something based on your qualifications. That's what freedom is all about. That's part and parcel with freedom. If you're getting into the system and you're pulling strings and you're controlling people's behavior and you're controlling the equality of outcome, that's not freedom, right? That's manipulation. And we see this so much in politics and government, in Hollywood, and it's, in my estimation, it's a tool that's used by the devil, right? To bring in all kinds of crap. Oh, well, we need equality, therefore we have to accept people who are doing these heinous things because that's equality. Like, at some point you lose sight of right and wrong. At some point you lose sight of what is actually evil, what is actually righteous, and what is unrighteous. You lose sight of that, and this is the intention, I believe, behind this stuff. The insidious intention is to ultimately remove laws, ultimately remove things that are keeping our society in order, right? And it's seen in this example very clearly, because if you automatically disrespect somebody based on their gender, or you automatically disrespect somebody based on their whatever, that you deem as bad, well, then you're just a bigot, right? And I have to be transparent here and say, well, men do that with women, unfortunately. To a large degree, we don't give women the benefit of the doubt a lot of times. Actually, I don't know. I think that it might be the opposite. I think a lot of it might just be based on our experiences, just based on. I think a lot of times we do give women the benefit of the doubt, and then we get screwed over, And maybe women will say the same thing. Maybe they will. But as being red pill educated, as somebody who's red pill educated, you realize, like, well, what are, when you learn womanese, what are they really saying, right? If women are like, oh, I don't respect men, what they're really saying is that the group of men that I've been around, the group of men that I've chosen, is not respectful, right? They've been unloyal, untrustworthy, right? And I think I was going to make something else about simps. I was going to talk about simps too, about how simps are really just, I just have so much going on in my life right now that my mind is elsewhere in other places. But I was thinking about how simps were useful idiots to them, about how simps were really, it's funny because the simps will defend them and then they'll sort of reward the simps sometimes, but the simps are not really what they want. And it's interesting because it's almost like a self-fulfilled prophecy. It's almost like a self-sabotage. Because what they really want is masculine men who will, be providers and things like that. But it's funny how this is the opposite of what they're told that they should want. Because in feminism, they're told that men are oppressors. They're told that men are illegitimate rulers or dictators, or these evil things that, a man, if he wants to rule over you and oppress you, which is funny because deep down in their nature, they want a man to take the lead. They want a man as a leader, so they want the very thing that they're taught to hate, and this must cause mental illness. And then what are they left with? They're left with yes men. They're left with docile beta men. And what's funny is I'm a little more, I don't want to lord anything over any woman. I don't want to be any kind of, I don't even want to be a provider. It's never really titillated me. It's never really excited me. Oh, I get to be the breadwinner and take care of a woman. Like, I've never been that kind of guy. I don't know why. You could argue that maybe I'm not masculine enough in that. Maybe. You could argue that I'm not, that maybe I'm too liberal in that way. Maybe. I don't know, but I've always known that money was necessary in order to have a relationship, that women wanted money. I've always known that But at the same time, I've never had this strong, powerful urge and drive to protect and provide for a family. It's not to say I would never have a family. If I had enough money, I would. But I'm not. It's not my everything. It's not how I'm. It's not. It's not my pedigree. It's not how I'm found. It's not my foundation. Whereas some men, it's their everything. And I think those men take what's going on today harder than say men like myself. I'm a little more, I guess, abstract. That's probably not the right word. I'm a little more aloof in a sense. Like, certainly I have felt the pangs and the sting of being lonely, right? Absolutely, 100%. But it's not as deep, I think, with me because I'm a little more, I guess liberal is the right word. I'm a little more tolerant of not having that just extreme desire to be a provider, whereas I think some men really do, and I think it hits them harder than it hits a guy like me. Which is not to say that it doesn't hit me. That being single and lonely doesn't hit me hard, because that does. But I think in today's environment, those type of men are really getting thrown under the bus. Really, really, really. And because they're really the target, of this attack on masculinity. And can you imagine sifting through the garbage that's out there today? The man haters, the manipulators, the narcissists, the OnlyFans girls, the porn girls, the bar girls, the girls who just slept around constantly. This is what's out there. I heard someone, I forget who it was. Well, it was just somebody on social media. They said, just go find yourself a traditional woman. They're out there. And my response to that was like, yeah, there's just pure traditional women just on every corner. It's like, that type of thing is rare, if it even exists at all anymore. Where's the woman who's got a low body count? And I'm someone who's more lenient. To me, like, between 5 and 10, sexual partners is not that bad, in my view. It's according to today's standards. I think today, on average, the average is probably between 30 and 50 partners for most adult women. By the time they hit 25, 30 years old, I think probably at least 25 to 50 partners. That's how bad it's getting. Now, these are all just loose. Like, I don't have statistics on this stuff, but it's just my assessment, right? Take it or leave it. But, a real traditional man, and a real man who's really got purity and righteousness in view, he wants someone who's hasn't been with a bunch of women. And where is that? Where can you just go and find a traditional woman? Can you, even at church? I don't even think even at church you could. I say under 10 is pretty good. Under 10 is pretty good. And some men will be like, no way, over 3 is too many. And I probably, if I'm being strict, I would say over 3 is too many myself. But I would be a little more lenient and be like, hey, okay, she's got under 10. That's not terrible. I've dated women who've had 60 partners. I dated a girl who was in her early 20s, and she had 20 partners, 20 plus partners, I think, in her early 20s. She admitted it to me. I dated a girl who wouldn't be honest with me, but the way she was acting, for sure she had many partners. At least a couple dozen. Many. I mean, this is just common for guys today. So where can you just go and find a traditional woman? But anyway, I'm digressing. It's this attitude of superiority is very common, and I think it's become a part of culture, and it's social engineering, and it's planned, I believe. Because if you go on any feminist social media page or group, and just soak in what they're saying, soak in the rhetoric and how they view men. It's disgusting. It's disrespectful. It's downgrading. You know, they're throwing men under the bus any chance they can get, any way they can get, and they're doing it in the name of self-empowerment. I mean, what is that? These people don't know what it is to be human anymore, you know. And many people will say, oh, well, that's all you red pill guys do. Well, that's not true. We tell the truth. We're much more nuanced. We, first of all, we're not advocates of promiscuity. Feminism it advocates promiscuity, and it hides promiscuity as a form of empowerment. It distorts it when it's really the opposite. Promiscuity is actually a self-degrading thing, because you're selling yourself short, not financially, but as far as purity is concerned. You know, you are selling your future partner short. What you're essentially saying is, I don't respect men or my future partner or love to such an extent that I'm going to go out and I'm going to sleep around and I'm going to give away what I have to offer. What I have to offer is my chastity. It's my sanctity. Right? It's my purity. That's what I have to offer a man. And him as well as you. Men shouldn't do that either. So, which one, feminism or the red pill, which one's really the insidious gender supremacy cult? One of them hides under the guise of equality, right? Feminism hides under the guise of equality. It's all about equality and uplifting women. If you really wanted to uplift women, you wouldn't tell them things that are harmful. You wouldn't make it okay for them to kill their own children. This is just reasonable. It's just logical. If you have a moral compass. If you don't have a moral compass, then sure, anything goes. I don't think these are rational people. I don't think these are logical people. I don't think these people are really understanding what they're doing. I don't think they see their own hypocrisy. I think they're fueled by hatred. I think they're fueled by a kind of, I guess for lack of a better word, a kind of anti-Christ, anti-Christian, anti-righteousness sort of hubris. They're just fueled by unrighteousness. It's unrighteousness to go. It's unrighteous to sleep around. It's unrighteous to. The Bible says, "Woe to the person who calls evil good and good evil." And these are the days that we're living in. We're living in days where they call evil good and good evil, and they're trying to normalize it. And I would say, woe to the people to whom it is normal. I would say, woe to the people to whom it is normal to do these unrighteous things. Now, I said earlier that I'm a little more liberal when it comes to relationships. I view equality a little higher than maybe many traditional men do, because I think traditional men are very much centered on their roles as provider and protector, which is understandable. I'm a little more liberal on that. So I think, in a relationship or a marriage, to me, I view teamwork a little higher. I view cooperation a little higher. I view teamwork, I view cooperation, I view loving and caring for the other person higher than I do leadership, my own leadership. I'm not geared and centered towards these type of concepts where I need to be leading everything and so probably I wouldn't be as much of a target as other men in their minds. But also I just think that I'm viewed, because I tell the truth, I'm viewed probably even more as an enemy than other men, because they hate the truth more than anything, right? So whenever I speak the truth, it's I'm just terribly attacked. And I think Because I would say ultimately, above everything, modern women do not like the truth. They do not like accountability more than anything. They can work with a guy who wants to provide and protect them as long as he dummies up, as long as he keeps quiet to her past, or as long as he doesn't expose anything about them. As long as he plays the game, as long as he plays his role, they can jujitsu that, right? But they have they have nowhere to go with somebody who holds them accountable. Like a cat to water, a woman hates accountability. They have nowhere to go to somebody who holds them according to a righteous standard or a truthful standard. They have nowhere to go with that, because it's like a cat. They hate being exposed. What's done in the dark will come to the light. People who don't want to be exposed love the darkness more than they do the light. So for somebody to come along and expose something, that person is just poison to them, right? That person is just, wow, get this person away from me. They can even work with somebody who's a traditional man because they can use that guy. Oh, he's traditional. Okay, let me slide in and get the benefits of being a quote unquote traditional woman, meaning they can flip flop. They can change sides whenever they want to. A woman can go be a feminist from age whatever 18 to 30, and she can go sleep around, ride the cock carousel, play other games, have orgies, do porn, whatever. And then at 30, okay, my biological clock is ticking. I need to have some kids. Now I got to change this lifestyle. And in a matter of months, they can transform themselves into a nice little outwardly seemingly traditional Christian woman. And no one is the wiser because they don't know. Just go to a different neighborhood, move to a different city and join a church. Now all of a sudden you're a traditional woman and nobody knows about your past. And here's this beta provider guy, which I call beta because if you provide for today's used women, you're a sucker. That's beta to me. It's beta to be a provider to me, in my view, because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Also, you want to be a man? Well, go be a man. Go be a breadwinner. Where's my half of the rent, right? Or whatever, or live on your own. And I don't even know what I would do today. I don't even know if I'd cohabit in today's climate. I really don't. Let alone pay a woman's rent or pay her way. I'd never, because they don't deserve it. They're not that anymore. That's not what women are anymore. Decades and decades of feminist brainwashing. Well, they're for all intents and purposes, they're today's men. Okay, so you want to be a man, go be a man. But that doesn't give you the right to throw us under the bus. That doesn't give you a right to think that we're stupid or assume that we're lesser than you, because we're not, obviously, right? So yeah, man, it's a weird climate out there. These dark days, dark times. But it's interesting to pay attention to women's attitudes towards us, and yet they don't have a leg to stand on themselves. They act like we're the oppressors or we're the ones who are trying to harm them, and it's all just projection, and it's all just this weird, twisted self-delusion, which comes from modern feminism. And I would just say, how many of these women how many of them are worthy of a good man? How many of them are worth being married to, you hate to say things like don't get married, because you would hope that people would get married in good order, in good situations, and have good children, so we'd have a good society and people would have love and we'd have a community. You would hope these things. But we're really not living in that type of climate. We're really living in the type of climate where men need to protect themselves, where men need to educate themselves, and to some degree separate themselves from these modern women. All right, well, you guys are on a warpath. You guys want to go poison yourselves? Well, go ahead. I'm going to step aside, and I'm not going to be a part of that. Right? You want to go and sow your wild oats and do everything feminism told you to and hate men, well, then I don't want no parts of you. And when you want to come back after you've had your epiphany stage, after you realized it was a dead end, after you had your fun and your party days, and now you want to come back and get married and live this nice little quiet life raising a family, I'm not going to be the cleanup guy. I'm not going to be the sucker. I got higher standards than that. So until I can meet somebody young enough with a pure enough vessel for myself, no way. You think a 30-year-old is good for you? You think by the time they're 30 they haven't slept with 50 guys? I mean, come on. You think they're just sitting around waiting for the love of their life, and that's why they haven't married until they're 30? You think that's the reality? Hell no. What do you think they're doing? What do you think they're doing? They're riding the carousel. They're sleeping around. So I don't think they deserve a good man. And I think if you are a good man, you shouldn't lower your standards. And if that means being single and being alone, I'd say it's better that than taking these risks to date a modern woman. But anyways, guys, I'm going to end it there. I appreciate you listening. It's Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.